So thanks everybody. Today is going to be the Amigo 8. And I just wanted to jot down the opening closing code before I forgot. Today is the Amigo 8, the initial setup and customization. So the feedback, as Michelle said, was people had said that they weren't really familiar with it. It's a little different because there is a little bit of setup, nothing to be totally scared of, but there is some setup. So we'll go over that today. And again, your feedback is what gave us these, this presentation. Next slide, please, Colin. Hey, Ma. My mom just joined. She was having technical difficulties. So, hey, Mom.
She is like one of our marketing people, I swear, because she talks about our products all the time to people. Well, I am Michelle Williams, and I come from the enhanced vision side of Vispero, but now been with Vispero for years. So I got to stop saying that, I guess. And I'm very, very glad to be here because I'm excited about the new products that we come out with. And I think this one, we're going to show you some of the differences. So Mike, thank you for having me.
Oh, no, gosh, Michelle, thank you for joining me. Mike Wood here, Strategic Accounts Manager for Education, also with Vispero, of course. And I did want to also introduce before we move forward, and I know that some of you are on this call. We said your names earlier even. So, Michelle and I are so thankful to have such a fantastic dealer network in the industry and in the field supporting us. They're your local reps that come out and do these demos live. So they are, our family, part of the Vispero family are the dealers that support us out there. And also, I want to give a big shout out to our support in-house. Elizabeth, we mentioned earlier, doing our trade show management. We also have a fantastic customer support team, inside sales. And those are the people that are on the phone day in and day out, handling our customer support calls coming in, whether it also being technical support calls coming in and routing those to where they need to be. Without them, Michelle and I would be useless. So truly, thank you to the entire Vispero crew.
Absolutely. And we want to include in there agency staff, doctors.
Yes.
It really is a whole, it takes a village, as they say, and VA staff. I think I mentioned that. So that every one of you, in case we miss someone, we are thankful for all of you out there helping those who need to be exposed to products like this. So thank you.
Yes. Next slide, please, Carl. So today we are offering ACV REP credits, and they are, what I would ask is that you email your name, the title of the event. The title of today's event is Amigo 8, Initial Setup and Customization, the date of the event, and the opening and closing code. So the opening code for today is AUTUMN, AUTUMN, AUTUMN is the opening code. And I'll throw that in the chat here quickly and to everyone. So opening code.
And you will see a theme. We have some of our funny Bitmojis, those cartoons that are in here that really encompass the autumn spirit.
That they do. And you're going to email the all of that information to credits@vispero.com. It's credits with an S, CREDITS @vispero.com. And email all that information. And I'm going to put that in the chat box as well. So you have the opening code and the email address where to send it to. Next slide, please.
And as we stated, there's going to be a lucky winner at the end of this webinar of a $500 gift card. You can use it for something yourself, you can gift it, but it can go towards anything. And that includes what we like to say hardware or software. So it could be a product like the Amigo, which is what we mean by hardware, or it could be towards software like our famous Fusion software. All right, and next slide, please. And we'd like to have goals when we put these together. And of course, we were so lucky. We didn't even have to put the goals together this time. We were asked, hey, something happens when you take this Amigo 8 out of the box. Let's have a step-by-step on the very first setup. And the reason we have that, and I wanted to mention this, is because, as you know, we design and assemble things way out in Huntington Beach, California. So you have a different time zone. So now you're going to be able to set this up with the date, the time, and the language, because these get shipped all over the place, that works for you. The second goal is when to use and how to set the new features. And this is so important. When you get a new product as a trainer or as a customer, it's nice to have kind of a step-by-step on what you should expect and what those menus look like when you're actually starting to set up your device. And then, of course, Mike's famous, wonderful live demo of all these features. And he is going to actually throw the image of the Amigo 8 itself onto the screen so that we can see those menus nice and large.
Absolutely.
And next slide.
So setting up your new Amigo 8, we'll go into these more in depth, but the first option to choose is your language. So it's nice because depending on who you're providing the Amigo to or who's using it, you can customize the language for all the menus and whatnot. You can also set the font size for the menu. So if you need a larger font size on the menu, you can do so. And then you set, as Michelle mentioned, the date and the time. So for your local area, which this obviously comes in handy since we have some people coming in from Greece and Nepal today to name 2 places. So depending on who you're using it with, you can totally customize it right out of the box. Next slide. So your initial setup screen. So the very first time that you turn this on, it's going to give you a select menu language. So you'll notice on the screen right now, we have a slide showing it. I will show this live as well. But you just cycle through the languages and decide which language you want. So there's Spanish, French, Italian, English, German on there. And you just select it. And when you actually go through and select that language, the menu language will change as well. And you'll see that live in a little bit when I do the live demos. So this is your initial setup with the Amigo 8.
And Mike, I have to laugh because that photo that is on there, look at how messy my desk is. There's a whole pile of receipts behind that. I noticed it after I sent it over. I'm like, oh, I need to clean my desk.
I think that's what most people's desks look like, though. I mean, I look, my stuff's like shoved in a cubby up there right now, like all of my receipts from my expense reports that I don't do on time. So you probably are better at them than I am.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that. But yeah, we're busy because we're traveling a lot. And next slide, please. And we thought it'd be really important to show you what these screens look like and how to navigate them so that you could print this out if you wanted to, or have it on your desktop, because it will be available later. We'll post it on our website to refer to as a trainer or as a person who's going to help someone with the Amigo 8. And so on the left, I'm showing a photo of the bottom left control, which is really the contrast button, if you want to call it something technical. But when you're holding on to the Amigo 8, it's going to be on the left-hand side on the bottom. And that is what I like to call your choose button. So whenever you are choosing or picking the feature and you want to choose it, you're going to be pressing that button on the left on the bottom. And then on the right, there's a photo of the up and down arrows. So just like Mike showed with the languages, you're going to scroll down with the bottom button, and then you're going to scroll up if you missed it with the top plus button. So that would be your right controls. And next slide, please.
I was just going to say, I have to say that it takes a second to get used to that, just because my initial thought when people are trying this out or, setting it up is their initial thought is to tap the screen because we're so used to touch screen. But this is a very simple, easy to use product. You only have those 4 buttons on the front. So, you've got your snapshot image or freeze frame, you have your contrast, and you have your zoom in and zoom out buttons. And those then become your arrow buttons also when you need to navigate the menu or settings. And yeah, so it just takes a quick second to realize it. But once you do, it's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, and this is an important thing to note because those of you who are working with people who have neuropathy and they don't have feelings in their hands, they are trying to respond with a button that they are pressing. And they're also hearing a slight click to that button. So it really takes care of those who maybe don't have the ability to utilize a touchscreen that well. So now you have a choice of a product that doesn't have the touchscreen. All right, and on this slide, we are showing you the second setup screen. Like we mentioned, now you're choosing the font size. And so on your left, you have your arrows, and on your right, the up and down to choose the font size. What I mean by arrows is if you needed to go back to the original screen, now you're noticing the top button, which is, you'll feel it, there's a little camera symbol at the top, will now bring you back to the previous screen. And then, of course, you have your choose button. If you want to choose that font size, you're happy with what it looks like, because it is changing it as you go with those up and down arrows on the screen. You just choose it with that bottom left blue button. And next slide, please.
So your third setup screen is the date. So on the date screen, you're going to select the month to begin with, then the day of the month, and then the year. The nice thing with this is as you choose the month, it automatically moves you over to the date section. So it's very straightforward. And pressing the lower left choose button again, which is your contrast button, it's blue. That's going to select and choose the option that you're on that's highlighted. And basically then that just moves you over from the month to the date to the year. And then when you finish with the selection of the date, you then get over to the next slide, which is your fourth and last setup screen, which is the time. So this is nice where you're going to select the time zone that you're in, or the time that you're in, depending on what time zone you're in. So your final screen, you'll navigate the hour first, and then you skip over or select by hitting that blue button over to the minute next. And then when you hit that blue select choose option, you then would choose AM or PM, depending on where you're at. So the one key thing that we want to drill home is that this setup is not going to pop up again. So once you do this complete setup of everything, so you chose, your language, you chose the date, the time, your menu size, and all of that, that's it. That's the last time that you'll have to manually choose these settings again. Your device is completely ready to go unless you reset it. And the only time that I would find that you would have to reset the device is if you were giving it, in a school setting. Maybe one year you've got it, little Johnny's using it, and next year, Sally or Sue is going to be using it. So you reset it to factory default because maybe they want a different menu size or something like that. That would be the only time I really see that you would be resetting the device. But after your initial setup, this is your fourth and last screen. You're good to go.
Yep, and to our dealers, they'll probably set these up ahead of time. They're going to be stocking them if they have them. They'll set it to that time zone, and then it's good to go. So again, it's something that you can either ask for help from the local representative, or you can go ahead and go onto our website, and this will walk you right through it. All right, and next slide, please. And this is my favorite Bitmoji slide, which has the little cartoons at the bottom. I put Mike in a leaf pile, and then I am raking leaves around him. And he is really happy about it.
And I was just noticing we are not dressed to be cleaning leaves in what we're wearing in those Bitmojis. We need to change our costumes or outfits for that.
Yeah, because we always rake in a suit, right?
Yeah.
Basically what this slide is we're going to go through the three main new features that you would choose, which would be live image panning, the edge effects, and then the color blindness feature. So this is pretty exciting, and we're going to tell you why you would turn them on, and then we're going to show you exactly in the menu where to turn them on. So this is going to be a really useful, I think, slide deck to maybe print out later for any trainers that are out there.
And I had a question that just popped up. Hey, Ed Martin. So Ed had said, how does one go back on the screen selection or change the settings? So if you were to hit that blue choose button and maybe you chose the wrong time, you can actually hit the red button above it, the camera button, and that would bring you back one. So, but if you were to go through the entire settings and chose all the settings, and then for some reason you were like, oh, I need to reset all these, there's a way through the menu, and I can show that when we do the live demo, that you can go to factory reset the entire device. And then it would basically be just like you took it out of the box, brand new again. So I hope that answers the question, Ed.
All right, next slide, please.
So when do I use live image panning? So the live image panning is going to allow you to view a larger document. So if you have something like, I'm going to be showing you using a newspaper in a little bit when we do the live demo. And if you were looking at a newspaper and you wanted to kind of pan over to the right or pan to the left, up or down, what this allows you to do is you don't have to do anything with an image. You don't have to save an image and then pan the image. This is a live image that you have on the screen. And if you are zoomed in a little bit, you can actually pan across the screen without moving your device. And Michelle, you had kind of an analogy that I think was spectacular and a great point on it.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, Mike and I were talking earlier because we always do kind of a practice session. And this was one of those things that, quite honestly, I had not practiced, the panning feature of this. But if you think about it, this being a portable, this is kind of like a button XY table. So now you're able to, instead of moving the materials, you are actually pressing the button and the camera is panning that image back and forth. So it minimizes the movement of the device itself. And I think that's important as well. If you have someone who maybe can't grasp a device as well, or they're in an office, say they have some sort of consent form they're trying to read, and they only have so much counter space. Now they're able to put their portable on top of that and now pan back and forth with the buttons that are on the device itself. So this is I call it the button XY table.
And I also think that it's helpful if you're reading. Oftentimes when you move the device itself visually, it throws off where you're at on the screen. So it's kind of that learning curve of trying to figure out using a video magnifier as opposed to an optical magnifier or something. So what this allows you to do is really keep track of where you're reading and just smoothly read across a line without having to move the device itself. You're literally just pressing that button and it's moving to the left or the right to let you read along. So that's a nice feature of it as well.
And Mike, I think you mentioned it's a time saver too, because you're not saving an image first and then panning back and forth with it. It skips that step entirely. Some products you have to like freeze it and then do that. So it's less steps.
Yes, it's live, which is nice. But before we jump to the next slide, Michelle, too, LaDonna asked, is there any audio during the setup process? And there is not any audio during the setup. This device doesn't have any OCR capability in it, or any voice built in, so it does not have that. And then Ed asked if we would be able to show going back screens, which we will when we do the live demo. Definitely, I'll do that. And Alex said that the feature, the live panning feature is very useful and convenient. So thanks. I'm happy to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we can, if you do need that audio feedback, we can tell you about other products that do have it. Again, we're trying to make something that is maybe for someone who has neuropathy, something that has less steps, maybe a little more what I would call simple, because sometimes I want something that's less buttons and less steps. And then other people want something that's super feature rich, but I think you get both in this. It's kind of a nice sweet spot with the Amigo 8. All right, and next slide, please. All right, when do I use Edge Effects? Edge Effects basically gives you kind of a bolder crisper letter or symbol. When you have something that's printed a lot, I think it really kind of shines, this feature does. And what I did is I put it on top of a Powerball ticket because, you know, everybody wants to win the lottery or win Powerball. I mean, we all would. And when I put the Amigo 8 on top of it and took the two pictures here, you're going to notice the picture on the right has a beefier, kind of thicker number to it, but it also thickened the, I had put a pen mark and circled. I got the, I think it was what, I don't know what they call it in Powerball, but it's the multiplier that's off to the right. And I was circling the only number that matched, but you can see that that pen stroke is much thicker and more apparent on the screen. So left picture has no edge effects. And then the words at the bottom, you can really see it where it says power play option. And then the pen stroke, as I mentioned, are thicker to the right. And then the O is more defined because a lot of times when we don't have that kind of edge effect on certain fonts, you can't really see the difference between a smaller E and a C or an L and an I. So it's very important to try this edge effects with different fonts because it will make a difference more with some than it will others. And next slide, please. All right, so we kind of went through the setup where we showed you how to get to the menu, but we thought, you know what, it's really important to show you what the buttons look like large. So when you press down that camera and the contrast button at the same time, it displays the main menu. And now we're going to go into what I've highlighted is the appearance menu. That's where all these new features are. We're talking about 3 features. We're dealing with one part of the menu to keep it really simple. So you're going to be accessing the appearance menu. So again, to display the main menu, you're just taking your left hand and you're pressing those 2 buttons at the same time for a second, letting go. And then your main menu screen comes up. And Mike is going to show that really nicely on a live camera so that our whole screen is this menu so you can see it larger. All righty. And then next slide, please.
So to set up the edge effects, as you mentioned, so you basically are going to press those 2 left buttons, the camera and the contrast button, together at the same time for about half a second. And then you'll see on the screen the appearance menu. And then you would hit the choose or select blue button. And that's going to then move you to edge effects. And you would move up or down using the yellow plus or minus on the right-hand side. That's going to move you up or down through your options. And then again, press the blue button to select it. You would then go into select edge effects. And then you would go to enhancement on or off. Now, one thing I will tell you, and I'll show this during the live demo, is if you're in true color, you only have one enhancement option for the text. And that's like Michelle showed you with that Powerball ticket. But if you have your high contrast options on, you actually have a couple options for your edge effects. And we'll go over all of those options. You know, there's an outline. There's also kind of an edge highlighting or an edge smoothing. So you've got a couple different options for your edge effects, but those are all underneath the appearance menu and then edge effects. Next slide, please, Carl. And this is cool, Michelle. I love this photo too.
I know, we were kind of cracking up. I was trying to figure out what is a photo that I have that has a whole bunch of red in it. And this was my mom in her Santa hat. And she loved the color red. So why use the color blindness feature? Well, what it's going to do is it's going to overdrive or correct a color deficit. So it's going to add in, and this one that I added in was the one where I believe it's when you're deuteranopic, you need more red and green. And so this overdrives the red. And I just thought this was such a cute picture because they had given all of the residents at that senior living facility Santa hats that day. So they were all wearing their hats.
Giving out gifts. And there are 3 color blindness filters in there too. And I think that that's nice because it gives you the different options to choose which is best for the end user that you're working with, or if you are, with a VA or a State Department working with your client, you can customize it to fit the needs for that person. But you can also see, even on that one on the right, Michelle, just the saturation, or I guess, the contrast of even like the cabinetry in the background just looks so much more deeper, as well as your mom's red top.
It does. And I think a really important thing to say is that as we're working with people who work with this color blindness feature, it's not going to look like a regular photo to us. And that's very okay. And it shouldn't, because it's overdriving that missing color for the person that you're working with. So definitely a good indicator is, yeah, this does look really bright and sometimes almost like it's a comic because it has so much color in it. But to the person who has the deficit, it looks completely normal or gets them closer to normal of that color spectrum. So again, the one on the left may look like it's okay, but the one on the right is going to be what that other person really is drawn to. All right, and next slide, please. And so what we wanted to do was go through again. You're going to that main menu. Again, you're hitting the appearance menu. You're choosing it with the lower left-hand button, and then you are going up and down with the right-hand side 2 buttons. So I clicked down 4 times to where it says color blindness filter. And you can help your clients by telling them how many clicks down it is if they ever needed to change anything. And what I did is I chose the top one. And when the person is looking at this, you want them to participate because they're going to choose which rectangle looks like a gray, solid gray rectangle. To us, we see the colors, but to them, they're going to choose the one that is solid gray. And then again, you choose it with your bottom left-hand blue button. And now you're done. You're going to back out and you're going to click 3 times with the top left button where it's at the camera. You'll go click, click, click. And now you're back to live image. So you'll be able to set them up with something audible by hearing the clicks of the button and also counting how many times they go out of that menu.
Yes, so that red button's your beep, 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 back it up button. So just back it up.
That's a great way of putting it. Yeah, it's kind of like your forgiveness button. If you click it 4 or 5 times, you're gonna get back out to live image.
Exactly. Bring me back home. Now just give me those winning Powerball numbers while you're at it button. Next slide, please, Carl. So this slide we thought would be good to have. We had this in our prior Amigo webinar training as well. And we thought it was worth bringing it back again for round 2, just because this is the full menu reference slide. And so this basically walks you through and gives you all of the different tiers of the menu. So if you're in the main menu and you go to settings, you then can get to language or system settings. If you drill down even further into system settings, you then go into the time and date. And that's where you would also do your reset settings. And that's going to be where you would totally reset this as a hard reset to bring you back to a brand new device. And as Michelle mentioned earlier, a couple of times, the appearance menu, that's where you're then going to get into your font size, your lines and masking, which I think is also something to point out. This does offer lines and masking for guidelines. And those always come in handy for tracking purposes when you're reading, to just kind of keep you on track of what line you're at. And then also your color combinations, color blindness filters, and things like that. So you've got multiple levels of the menu. So this is a great slide to go back to if you're ever wondering where you're at on the menu or where you need to be at.
And Mike, you just brought up, I think, something wonderful. What an idea for a next webinar. And maybe people can chime in with either emails or comments. I think it would be neat to have a webinar on what you would use for students to help increase reading speed, like those lines and masking, and then using the different filters, along with the lines and masking to help a student who maybe needs to focus one line at a time or one paragraph at a time or whatever it may be, just helping people of all ages to get back to reading at a certain speed. Because sometimes when people get one of our products, when they go to an agency, they haven't read in a long time. And word recognition is something that they have to get back up to speed with again. And we have some great features that you've worked with in the education field, being the expert, that have really helped people kind of come up to speed faster.
Well, thanks, Michelle. Yeah, that's true. And that's one of those that I always show. I love masking, just especially for those with visual clutter issues. And, you know, when you want to cut out some of the other stuff on the screen and just focus in on the important aspect of the text of what you're trying to read. It was funny because, side comment, like I said, I was at annual meeting the other day or last week, and it was fantastic because we were showing a different device that is a little bit more in depth. It has scanning capabilities and whatnot in it. But one of the things that everybody loved was when you scanned in material, you had options of viewing it in different ways. And one of the ways to view it was a teleprompter mode, which was basically just text. So you got rid of all the graphics, you know, any images. You were just looking at text, and it was in a high contrast view as well. And everybody, I mean, there were multiple groups coming by. We had little workstations, and they all loved that teleprompter view. And I was like, this is great feedback because, you know, again, it just depends on what the individual is doing and what they're using it for. But a lot of these tools, you know, the features come from the people here in the audience.
Exactly. And it's really assessing the person that you're working with. And I have to say, all the people that are, you know, on this webinar that work with clients are just, they're experts at doing that. So that's kind of half the fun is look at now what we have in this whole market basket of products to choose from. So it's kind of exciting to see where everybody's going manufacturer-wise with new products. And next slide, please. And we are going to have Mike do a phenomenal live demo, which he's going to hook up his camera to his laptop so that we can see the main menus larger. We can see him choosing things, and he's going to go through some of these features. So this is the exciting part for me.
So while I'm getting that set up, because I'm going to have to connect this device here for a second, let's see if there's any questions that come in. I see that Carlos has his hand raised, so we can take that question live. And I'm going to go set this up and switch around my video capture card and all that good stuff while we do so.
Alrighty, let's see here. Alrighty, and can you see the questions? I'm having some technical difficulties over here. I apologize.
No worries. You know what? I don't see any. Someone had asked about the battery life on the Amigo, and I do know that the new Amigo did change with the battery life, right?
It did. It is a little bit longer than the old Amigo is, a larger screen. We did have a slide, and I was thinking, gosh, should I put that in there of kind of all the differences? I believe the first Amigo was a 3 to 4 hour, and this is more of a 4 to 6 hour battery life. So it definitely does have larger capacity. So we stuck a larger battery in it and larger screen. So now you're getting more symbols, a larger field of view, if you will. So you get more words, more letters on the screen. And I love the reading stand on this. It does make, I think, kind of a little bit of a louder click when you open up that reading stand. And we did make mention this time that we're going to show you what the awesome carrying case looks like, because we forgot to show that in the first webinar that we did about Amigo 8. And why that's important is because we do include something to help you protect the screen. So it's a padded case. keeps it safe. So if you're going to throw this thing into your briefcase or into a backpack, it does have a little more protection than I think some of the other cases that are out there in the field.
So, Carl, I'm just going to ask you one favor. If you don't mind just ending the slideshow for a brief minute. While I do this, I'm going to usurp the screen and show my screen. So just stop sharing altogether, actually. Sorry, Carl. Perfect. And then this should be, my camera should be spotlighted for everybody. So if you go to view, you just want to view speaker view, and then that will highlight this for you. So this is the screen. So what you're seeing is my Amigo screen. I'm using a video capture card to project this through Zoom. And what you see here is exactly what you would see the first time you turn on this product. And so on the left-hand side, there is a arrow, which is your choose or select the blue. It's next to the blue button, your contrast button. And on the right-hand side, there's a down arrow that is next to the minus or the bottom right button. If I press that button on the right-hand side, the bottom button, you'll now notice I have two arrows, an up or a down, because now I could go back up or I can go down. As I'm scrolling through this, you'll also notice that the text of the menu is changing up on the top. So this says select menu language. If I come down here to Spanish, it is now in Spanish. So I'm going up again. To select this, I'm going to hit or tap the select up button, which is your blue button on the left-hand side on English. And if I were to go back, I can hit that top button. So Ed Martin, this is for you. I hope you're listening and paying attention. If I choose English and then I realize, oh goodness, I really didn't want English. I wanted, German. I can then hit the red camera button, top left button, which has the arrow pointing to the left that does bring me back to that prior menu. So I'm going to select English. Next option we have here is our font size. So what size font do you want the menu? So the default is 28, and you'll notice that the size is changing as I go up. So we can go up to 72 font, and we can go down to 24 font. So any of those options in between there, we can pick and choose. So let's choose 36 size font for our menu. To select that again, bottom left-hand button to select that. And if we wanted to go back, we would choose the top left button. So now we're in the select date. Today's date is what, October 19th. So I'm going to choose October 1st. It's on October. And so I'm going to choose the bottom left button. Now my numbers are lit up, so I can move up or down. And of course, as I said, it's the 19th. So I'm going to choose that. And then what year are we in? We're in year 2022. So that's automatically highlighted. But if I were in a different year, I could move up or down using my plus or minus buttons on the right-hand side. And I'm selecting again using that left bottom button, the blue button. Now, what time is it? It is 12. So again, selecting 12. This thinks it's 38, but it's actually 43. So I'm going to move up to 43. And it is PM. Again, moving up or down using my right-hand buttons, plus or minus, selecting bottom left, going back, top left. And now here I am to my live. Sorry, you got my wire there. I was like, oh, you had my wire and everything.
You were testing us to make sure it was live.
It's live. And so now here's your live view. So that was the settings that we had to go through. That's your initial setup right out of the box, what you're going to do with the Amigo 8. And then from there, you're now at your live view. So at your live view, I have my true color mode, which I'm in right now. And I can then, by hitting the blue contrast button, I can go into high contrast modes. And there's a couple different options in here. And then I can also, if I want to get to my menu, as Michelle mentioned earlier, press the two left buttons, the blue and the orangish red, together at the same time for about half a second. and that brings you into your main menu. To get out of your main menu, you're going to hit your top left-hand button to bring you out. And from there, we're back at the main view, your live view. I just want to show you, I'm going to zoom in here for a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to press the plus and minus button together. So the right-hand side buttons together for just about half a second, same time together. Now up on the screen pops these buttons, or I shouldn't say these buttons, but these symbols that are next to the buttons on the Amigo themselves. So the left-hand button is on the next to the camera button. The up button is next to your contrast. The right button is next to the plus, and the down button is next to the minus. When I click the plus button to move to the right, you'll notice it panned over to the right. I can then press the camera button, and that pans me over to the left. If I want to pan down, I press the minus button, and that just pans me down. And if I want,
I can't tell you how comfortable this is, because I don't even have large thumbs, and I can hit those buttons because of the placement so easily together and then let them go. You don't even have to know that the symbols are there for panning, but as you click on the buttons and hold them, you're going to see the screen moving. So it's just so simple.
It really is straightforward once you start using that. And then, so then if we, again, we can zoom in or zoom out, press together the plus and the minus for just about a half a second. And then one thing I do want to point out is you can press and hold that to pan quickly. You can press it once slowly, just press it incrementally and it's going to move you slowly. But if you wanted to jump quickly, left, right, up or down, just double tap that and it actually jumps you across, up or down on the page. So this is letting us, and I'm not moving the Amigo when I'm doing this. I'm just pressing those buttons to move around that page a little bit. So that's your live panning. I can still move my Amigo, which I'm doing now. Or I can press the top left button and move to the left a little bit, or top right to move to the right. So I know for time's sake, I want to jump into the menu and show you, because I see some questions popping up. I want to show you a couple different things in here in the menu. Scrolling down, I press the minus button and that moves me down. Now you'll notice you have an up and down option, which up would be your plus button. On the appearance menu, I'm choosing the blue check button to choose that. This is where you would turn on lines and masking, color blindness filter. So I want to show you the color blindness filter quickly. So as Michelle mentioned, you're going to select the solid gray rectangle in here. So depending on which one of these fits for the user, we would then just select it using that blue check button. And that would then be the chosen option. We're going to do no filter. I'm going to go back. Going back, I press that red top left button. I want to scroll down to Edge Effects. So I selected that. I'm hitting Select Edge Effects again. So I like this because what it's doing is on the left-hand side, it's showing us the text of how it's going to look. And on the right-hand side, I'm able to choose what edge effect I want. So highlighting. So there is the highlighting. So you'll notice that this put a pink highlight around all the text. This is a newspaper that I'm looking at, which you all know usually is a little bit, can be a little fuzzy, isn't always the highest quality print. If I want to do a smoothing, what the smoothing does is kind of smooths out the edges and makes it a little bit beefier looking, I find. And then if I wanted to do a edge only, you'll notice here the edge only does an outline of the text and basically gives you kind of like a coloring book view of the text. So it just does an outline of that.
Your mom likes the pink.
Of course she does. Yes, of course you do, Mom. So that would be the edge. That's the highlighting effect.
I
And
find that the smoothing, Mike, if anybody has a book where you can see through the pages and you see the print on the back side kind of coming through, that smoothing edge effect feature minimizes the bleed through that you experience with thinner pages in books.
so I want you to see the text there. That is using the smoothing with the newspaper. Just quickly, just for time's sake, I'm not going to walk you through everything that I'm doing right now. I'm just going to go through and choose the appearance and go down to where are my edge effects and go back to our no effect. And I just want you to see the difference. Back. And then that's it there without any of that smoothing. So it's a little beefier looking with the smoothing on. So that is your edge effect options there. From the menu, you do have other options, turning your light on or off. Also in the appearance option, you also have your color combinations. So if you wanted to choose different menu colors, I like the fact that you can do this. So your menu color, you can actually do a dark yellow on black. So now my menu color has changed. I can also change my image colors. So personally, I like having the enhanced color option on. I like the white on black and black on white. But what if you have a consumer or an individual that wants, you know, one of these other options? Maybe they want red on black as an option. So all I'm doing is selecting these with the bottom left blue button, the checkbox, hitting the top left red button to go back. So now when I'm looking at text and I'm hitting my contrast button, you'll notice in here I have red on black. That's very Halloween looking right now from my side.
That is.
Yeah, that's definitely a bright color. But you also have here, so if I'm looking at an image, I like the enhanced option. So here's an image on a newspaper. Again, you're not always going to be the best looking picture quality, right? But you'll notice here, I just switched over to an enhanced view, excuse me. And it just kind of changed the contrast on that it kind of pops a little bit better. So you've got that option to get back at any moment in time. So say I go over to my, you know, horrible bright red, right? If I want to get back to true color mode, I can press and hold that contrast button for a couple seconds, and it will actually bounce me right back to my true color as well. I'm hitting the cycle to cycle me through, but I can press and hold that blue contrast button and it will cycle me back to true color. And there's your text. Let's answer a couple questions just because we've got about 8 minutes left, I see. I'll leave my unit plugged in case there's any questions that come up in regards to that. So, Carlos, no worries. Carlos said he touched the screen by accident, raised his hand. Are the features the same as in the Ruby 10, Alex asked. So a lot of these features are in the Ruby 10 as well. The Ruby 10 is a more robust, powerful unit. That does include OCR capability. It is a 10-inch screen, so you've got a larger screen. And it does incorporate in the guidelines and masking. It incorporates in that color blindness feature. It incorporates in the edge effects. So it does have a lot of these same features, but you access them a little bit differently because the Ruby 10 is a touch screen as well. So this is not a touch screen. So great question though. Sandy asked, does it allow for a 24-hour clock? I work at the VA and a lot of veterans like the 24-hour clock. You know, Sandy, that's a great question. And I don't know if that's an option when you choose. I don't think it does, but that's something that Michelle and I can. Michelle, do you know off the top of your head, or is that something you think we should ask the developers on?
You know, I don't think it does, but I bet if you hit the 2 menu keys and went into your settings menu and then go system settings and then reset.
Yep. Time and date does give you a 24-hour clock.
Okay.
Yay. Michelle, look at you. Sandy, we just learned with you. So to access that again, let me come back out. So left-hand side, press the two buttons together at the same time for half a second. Come into the menu, go to Settings menu, select Settings menu, go to System Settings, and then go to Time and Date, select that, and you do have a 24-hour option in there. So
excellent. I like
there you
that.
go. Good to know. So that'll set you up, because I know also, a lot of Europeans like the 24-hour clock. And definitely I know a lot of veterans that have that on their cell phone as well. So there you go. Q&A. So is this working the same as a talking book? It is not, Manish. So this is not going to have any speech feedback in this. This is just going to allow you to customize the text for magnification or reading from the screen itself. So no text built in. Can you elaborate related to CCTVs and the Amigo 8 differences, because as two of them are working the same here? So the Amigo 8 is similar to a CCTV. The difference being the CCTV is going to be a larger, usually I refer to a CCTV as more of a larger desktop unit, whereas the Amigo 8 is more of a portable handheld 8-inch screen, as opposed to a 22 or 24 and correct me, Michelle, if you think, but usually a CCTV I consider a larger desktop, 20, 22, 24-inch.
Yes, absolutely. And it has to do with what type of materials are you looking at, and what is your lifestyle? Are you mostly magnifying things at home or at work in a stationary area? Or do you travel a lot and need something that can come with you? So again, these are the questions that we assess when we bring devices out in the field. So we always use the 80-20 rule when putting together a low vision kit. 80% of the time, if you're at a desk or you're at home and you're doing larger materials, you're going to go with the desktop. And again, acuity level comes into play as well. Do you need a larger letter or symbol? And then if you can use something with a smaller screen because you are traveling back and forth, I think these, what I call larger screen portables like the Amigo 8, the Ruby 10, really lend themselves to that niche where you're going back and forth.
Thanks, Michelle. Wendy asked, are there directions for each of these buttons or symbols written down in text format somewhere? So you can download, with the Amigo 8, you do get kind of an, thanks to Carl and our wonderful training team, you do get a setup and use guide that does walk you through some of that. And then you can also, there's a, is it a UR code? Is that what it's called? One of those smart codes. So I'll, QR, thanks, Carl, QR code. I am not a millennial. Thanks, Sandy, a QR code. So it's got a QR code in there. And that QR code will bring you to a text manual that you can then print out and use and do all of that with. There's also a URL. I do know that one. So you could use the URL and go to enhancedvision.com support and then get the user manual that way as well. So you could have that electronically or print it. Beverly says, in Edge Effects, if you're in enhanced negative mode when going into the menu, the selection you set only impacts that color mode. Oh, that's great to know, Beverly. Thank you. So if you were using the high contrast white on black, black background, white text, and you change the enhancements for the edge effects, it will only affect that color mode. So that's pretty cool, actually. That's really customizing it then. So that's nice. Thank you. I did not realize that. Which, and then you said, which is nice for the user who uses a specific mode for certain materials. And that's a great point. I like the fact that that allows you to do that and doesn't just do it all together. So great point, Beverly. Thank you. See, and that's where those fantastic, support network of dealers and resellers and whatnot come in handy. Thanks, Beverly. Good luck, Elizabeth. And so that is it for the questions so far. What I'm going to do is go back. Carl, if you don't mind going back to the slides just to bring us home, and then we can answer any other questions towards the end that come in if there's any questions. But I definitely want to make sure that we get to our ACVREP closing code.
And the raffle, we got a raffle.
Yes, the raffle. So jump us back in, Carl, to the slides. I'm going to remove the spotlight for everyone. And I'll pop back over to my camera here.
All right, and then we've got the credits where you can give us the closing code.
So the closing code is colors. So our opening code was autumn. Closing code is colors. And again, it is email the opening and closing code, the date of the event, the title of the training, to credits with an S, credits@vispero.com. And opening was autumn, closing is colors, COLORS. And
all right, and our winner is Tim Shaw.
Tim Shaw, congratulations for the $500 raffle. Congrats, Tim Shaw.
Congratulations, Tim.
That is great. So that $500 gift card can be used towards any Vispero product. That's EV, Enhanced Vision, Freedom Scientific, Optelec, software or hardware. So congratulations, Tim. You can email us. The drum roll was new. So you can email us. It was loud. That's the first time we've done that loud. I said to Michelle the other day, I was like, I want to incorporate some music or fun stuff into these slides. But that's what you get. You're getting that. So the drum roll.
You took it to the next level, Mike.
We always do, Michelle. Next slide, please.
That was our hand clapping.
That was the clap for Tim Shaw. Congratulations, Tim. Email us at credits@Vispero, or email Michelle or I, and we'll take care of you with that gift card. Connect with us. Please feel free to connect with us on different social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We have a fantastic podcast. We have a blog, our email, if you ever email training@vispero.com for future training events. We're on TikTok, believe it or not, and also on Clubhouse. And our support and training, again, Michelle and I would not be able to do these without the support of our training department. But you can go to the Amigo page. These slides will be up on our website under our training department. So you can go to freedomscientific.com/training. And from there, look at archived webinars, and you can watch all of the webinars on demand. I should say webinars on demand. That's where they're archived. And that's where you can find all of our prior events. Also links to the slides that we have here, so you can get a copy of the slides for yourself. If you are using our software, there's great teacher resources. And but the main page is freedomscientific.com/training. That's where you want to be.
Yep. And just give us a couple days to get those up there.
Yes, please.
It won't be instantaneous.
We're fast, but well, some of us
We're
are
not that fast.
We're not that fast, yes. And Carl will be working on that with us, and Carl's awesome. So thanks, Carl. I know we'll get those up there, and then you'll have a great resource for the Amigo 8, an in-depth look.
Absolutely. And then the last slide, I think, is one of my favorites too. I've got Mike on a leaf magic carpet saying, hope to see you again next month.
Yes, looking forward to it. Next month we'll be getting into the colder months. The leaves will be gone and there'll be snow boots out probably. This is great. It reminds me of like the Littles or whatever, when you get, or Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yes. And again, a great group today. Thank you for such great questions. We really appreciate it, because just like the 24-hour military time clock question, we sometimes don't explore every little thing that's on the menu, and this is a good time. You put our feet to the fire.
Yes, I appreciate that. That was fantastic getting that, because I wasn't. And then Beverly with that input on the fact that your edge effects only stay on the contrast that you choose it on. I mean, that's great feedback, great info. So getting a lot of thanks. We thank you. We wouldn't be able to do these without everyone coming. So we're glad that you find them interesting and informative. A bunch of people are saying that. Someone said that we're funny, so thanks. We try to have a good time. Definitely do. And so any other questions, feel free, drop them in the chat quickly. I see the numbers people are signing off. Again, we can't thank you enough. And Michelle, thank you. This is fun.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, Mike. You by none do the best live demo, and
oh gosh,
you're just so smooth with going, well, let's find out.
I was hoping that it was in there. I had a feeling it would be, just because so many of the devices do the 24, but I was a little nervous. I'm glad it was in there and we learned together. So that was fantastic.
Absolutely, absolutely. And these slides, we use them too. When I'm out in the field, I mean, we have so many products. It is just nice to have what I call the security blanket, to be able to go back and go, okay, the menu, you do this, this, and this. So believe me, it's great to have these things as reference materials.
And someone made a great point today on the call. They said they did a print screen when we had that slide up that was showing the menu tree. They did a print screen, and then they saved that print screen. So if they weren't able to get back in and look at our slides in the future, they then are able to say they did save that. So that was a great point. I can't remember who said they did that print screen, but whoever did that, that was a great idea to do a print screen on there. And oh, it was Linda Horton. When you showed the menu map, I hit my print screen button. So now I have a record of the menu. So that's fantastic. Great, great thought.
Yeah, reference materials are that's the way to go. I mean, especially these people at agencies and our dealers. Imagine trying to memorize 15, 20 different products. It's
no.
Sometimes you need the lifeline.
Yeah, you definitely do. And Wendy asked the cost of the Amigo. Michelle, do you have that cost handy? Because I didn't write it down. You're always.
It is $12.95, I believe, but I am going to double check that, because sometimes I give deals and I don't know it. Yes, that is $12.95.
Yes, I was going to say we did bring it in at a nice price, $12.95. It is.
Yeah, for all those features, and having that size of a screen, it really is it's a good value. And having more battery life, as one of our attendees mentioned.
Good question, Wendy. You're welcome. Well, thanks again, everybody. We appreciate you joining us. And this is always fun, always a good time. I learn something every time, it seems, as well. So it's beneficial all around.
And I think your mom asked where your bow tie was. So I'm going to have to get you another one. I'll have to get you the seasonal bow tie package.
Michelle, that was awesome. I wore the one you gave me that last meeting, which was the eyeball one. And then I wore that again at annual meeting and had compliments on it at annual meeting. Somebody came up and they were like, is that eyes on there? And I said, yes, it is.
It's so subtle. It's like, oh my gosh, you do stuff that helps people see.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I also have to say, like, Michelle's always so sweet about sending like little goodies and gifts. She sent me this awesome name badge a couple years ago. That's fantastic. Just because, oftentimes at these conferences, you might not have a name badge, or if you do, it's, I don't know, it's not the nicest looking thing, right? So she's got this great professional name badge that I can wear. And yeah, so thanks, Michelle, for the goodies.
You're welcome. That came from my pet peeve of, when you walk the exhibit hall floor, when you're at some of these bigger shows, people will take their badge off and you don't know who they are. Yes. And so if somebody's looking for the Vespero booth, I can't tell you how many times I've been pulled over. Oh, that says Vespero. Where are you guys? I can't find you. And then I give them directions. Yeah, it's true. It's nice. And it's just nice having that, because I'm horrible with names, but, at an event, at annual meeting, I was at a dinner event, and, there's tons of people that I haven't seen in 3 years. And I'm like, oh, I remember. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to mess up their name. So I love when somebody does have a name badge for that point as well.
Ed asked, when will a user manual be developed, printed, and included with the unit? I'm not sure about that, Ed. I think right now we're looking at doing that digital manual and putting it on, the end user if they wanted to print it out or reference it from that PDF file. It does come with.
I
Yeah.
believe the manual.
Things too.
Oh, Carl. Yeah, Carl's got the answer to that. Yeah, Carl.
I believe it can be downloaded from the Enhanced Vision site. Can't tell you exactly where, but I imagine if you go to the Amigo 8 product page, you'll find a link there. So that's one way to grab the one way to grab the manual.
To print it, if you wanted to. And I believe you're right. I'm on there right now. It's under the downloads. Yeah. So if you go to the Amigo page, so I'm going to put it in the chat just so everybody that's left on the call here has it. There's 21 people left, so I'll give that. So if you click on that link there, and then click on the downloads tab, there's the Amigo product brochure, and then there's the user manual. So the user manual, I can put that link in the chat here as well, but just be warned that when you click on that link, it's going to literally start downloading that PDF. It's opening up that PDF for you. And that is...
And then our stuff is like in bite-sized pieces. So if you want to learn a certain section of a product, definitely print out whatever pages you need from some of these webinars, because there are going to be 2 or 3 features I think that people will gravitate towards based on their eye condition. And sometimes having an 80-page manual can be so overwhelming to somebody who just needs to go into a basic menu, do some edge highlighting, and then maybe they're not using anything else. So, it's kind of like a la carte. We're giving you choices.
Yeah, and it comes with that little setup and use guide that I was just flipping through there as well. So thanks, everybody, again. We appreciate it. I look forward to next month. Not sure yet what next month's webinar will be, but Michelle and I will be in touch with everybody and let you know. And thanks for joining.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Mike. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, same. Thank you, Michelle. Appreciate it. It's always fun.